Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity podcast, where we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators and make comments upon it. I'm your host, Preston Proctor. So, early in the season, not a lot of stats. I spent more time telling you about why I don't have any stats than talking about stats right now. So I thought, well, we've got two games, the end of this Canadian road trip, playing in Montreal tonight and then Saturday in Winnipeg. And I thought, well, let's just wrap it all up together, and that way we've kind of got it covered instead of doing two. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Being that it's Thursday, I could do one tomorrow. I'm frequently don't tend to do the podcast on the weekend. I do the preview, but last weekend I wound up doing both days on the weekend. I guess again because it's early in the season, and I didn't have time to get the podcast done ahead of time. I guess I just Sunday, because Monday's game was at noon, and I thought, wow, who knows what's going to happen Monday morning. Come in here to the studio and more technical difficulties this morning. Tried to figure out why one thing was happening and something else started happening. And, I thought, well, I'm just kind of lucky that I can actually record anything this morning. But, hey, it's this is not Preston's Podcast Problems podcast. Preston's Podcast Problems podcast. Yeah, the old quad P. It's alliteration, right? I think so. Anyway. Okay, so today's podcast, we're gonna talk about the Montreal and the Winnipeg game. Eventually we will get around to that. Another quick note before I forget. Again, Quantum Energy Squares is now an advertiser on the show. QuantumSquares.com, QUANTUM, Quantum. Use the promo code PREDSPRO, PREDSPRO, for 25% off. It's about 1.6 ounce bar. It is a square, so kind of a thin square. And so it's easy to carry. Actually, I guess that's a good point. Some of the bars are long, can get kind of long and stick out of your jersey. I do a lot of cycling, so my reference point is the pockets in the back of my jersey. And, these squares would fit in there. I haven't actually taken them out on the road yet. I do a lot of interior training. It gets pretty hot here in Nashville, and I haven't quite acclimated. I haven't done anything for the last few weeks. I was trying to recover from not injuring my ankle. I went for an easy ride, and inside and outside of my ankles have been bothering me, so I haven't been on the bike in a couple of weeks. But yeah, they've got a new flavor on their website. They say try it before it hits the stores. I already have cookie dough, which is the new flavor. I already have some, so I'm not. I don't know. I guess stores. It looks like they probably put their product in a lot of your typical athletic type stores, and maybe that's what they're referring to. Not exactly sure. But anyway, Preds Pro at QuantumSquares.com. Okay. Real quick on the minor league. Both teams Milwaukee and Atlanta are playing on Saturday night. It is the first game of the year for Atlanta. And Milwaukee, it's the first one at home. They played last weekend, and they're playing this week. And they haven't played, I believe this is like the second game. It seems like weird for a week, but I don't know. I don't know how they run their schedules. But I should look more into that. But I did see something interesting. I had said the other day that Kevin Gravel was the captain and Lucchini and Marino were the assistant captains, or alternate captains, excuse me. The news article on their website today says that's not exactly right. Gravel is the captain. The first time somebody's been a captain 4 years in a row, I believe it is, since they became an AHL team in 2001. And Lucchini and Marino are alternate captains, but only when they play road games. And for home games, it's Carr and Osterley. So that's interesting. Why not? Why not? But that's the only real news in the minor leagues. So let's see what we cover. We covered my podcast problems. I did a quick ad, and we talked about. I told you what I was going to do and why I wasn't doing some things. I think I've covered everything but hockey, but everything but National Hockey League hockey. Anyway, so take a quick break here, and then we'll get to hockey. How about that? Well, what do you know? It's the Predators' proclivity, and we eventually get around to talking about the Predators. Milwaukee and Atlanta are affiliates, but anyhow. So tonight, Thursday, Montreal Canadiens, yes, the third game in this 4-game road trip all across Canada. Montreal is all right. I really have to. Is this? It is right. Hey, what do you know? My production staff had enough coffee this morning. But yeah, the Montreal Canadiens are tied for first in the Atlantic right now with 6 points. There are 3 other teams tied with them at 6 points. Detroit and Boston. Detroit, Boston, and Montreal are all 3-1. They are listed in that order. Is gold. I'm looking at this going, I don't know how they pick. I'm sure there has to be logic regarding the ordering. It's not goals for, it's not goals against, it's not goal differential. There's something in the underlying numbers, but who cares? They're tied at 6 with 6 points. Florida is the 4th team. They are 3-2, so that makes sense. They have played one more game, and it's a loss, so they would be listed below. But yeah, so they are tied for first, and for them, this is the second of a 4-game homestand. They played Seattle on Tuesday. They won that one in overtime. And then Saturday, the Rangers come to town, and Monday, Buffalo. So no back-to-backs for them, although they did start the season with a back-to-back, and they had to cross the border. So they started on Wednesday in Toronto, lost that game, and then went over to Detroit. Everybody seems to be playing Detroit these days, and won in Detroit 5-1. 5 is the magic number for Montreal. It looks like the first team to 5 wins. They had one game that did not go 5, but the total of goals was 5, 3-2. So I would say if Nashville can score 5 goals in the first period, I think they're going to win the game. I'm gonna lay it out there. There you go. That's the podcast. Made my one prediction. If Nashville scores 5 goals in the first period tonight, wow. That'd probably be a record. It'd probably be a record for goals scored in the first period for the Preds, at least in a couple of years. I'd have to go back and take a look, but anyway. Last year Montreal did sweep Nashville, winning 3-0 in Montreal and 2-1 in Nashville. Again, nobody got to five goals, so I guess they just had to call it at the end of the game. This is the first game of 2 versus Montreal. They will play in Nashville in late March, so we won't see them again for a while. The Habs. the habitants. The habitants. Looked that up once last year, I think, on why they call them the habitants. But, well, they're the Canadians, so I guess that's who lives in Canada are Canadians. Mostly. I guess at least the original, or at least whatever. So let's move on. I'm babbling again. Last year, Montreal was fifth in the Atlantic Division. They were the second wildcard team. They lost to Washington in the first round. They only won one game, the third game, so they lost that one 1-4. They did have 9. Well, they picked 9 people this year in the draft. They may have had more than 9 draft picks going in, but they did make 9 picks. They had 1 pick in the 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 7th rounds, 2 in the 6th, and 3 picks in the 3rd. None of those players are with the team. Eventually, I'll stop talking about draft picks. I got to fill up the podcast with something. So I right now, early in the season, looking to see what's changed. At some point, teams will have played enough games that it doesn't matter who they added. But for now, teams are still kind of feeling it out and figuring out how to play together. Notable personnel changes missing from the team for Joel Armia, who went to the Kings, got signed by the Kings, and Christian Dvorak signed by Philadelphia. Defenseman Logan Mailloux, trade with St. Louis. And then David Savard retired. And then as far as goaltenders go, Carey Price was traded to San Jose. He did not play last year. He has been plagued with injuries for a couple of years now, I think. And so he was Montreal traded him to San Jose for a minor league player. Hopefully, I guess there's some question. There was some, what I looked up, there was, I guess, Carey was in a little bit of a dispute with Montreal on what type of surgery he should undergo in order to get back. And he didn't want a more invasive surgery, and I guess Montreal was recommending that. But either way, he still wasn't able to play last year with a knee problem. Hopefully they get that all figured out. It's too bad. I hate to see somebody injured for so long. I have a lot of sympathy for people who get injured. All right, and who they have on the team now in that trade with St. Louis, they got Zachary Bolduc, a forward, Zachary Bolduc, and defenseman Noah Dobson. During the draft, they did a trade with the Islanders and got Noah Dobson, defenseman Noah Dobson. As far as other players, their injured player, they only have one. Defenseman, number 64, David Reinbacher, day-to-day, expected back on the 25th, so not anticipated to be back for tonight's game. As for Saturday's opponent, the Winnipeg Jets, they are, and I was looking at this morning, I feel like I should trust this information. Well, I was wondering, I am my production team, and so when I get upset with them, I'm just in a different room. My production team is over in the office, and I'm the talent. I can't be bothered with production issues. Not when I'm in my studio. Anyway. The Winnipeg Jets are tied for 5th or tied for last, depending on how you want to look at it, in the Central Division. Yeah, they are Winnipeg. The President's Cup winners last year, last. They are last in the Central of all things. They are behind Chicago. Nobody was behind Chicago. Well, San Jose was behind Chicago last year, but not in the Central. Nashville tried to get behind Chicago and was at the beginning of the season. But those sneaky little Blackhawks found the way to get in the basement, and they just kind of hung out there. But they are tied with Nashville. Of course, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Winnipeg Jets are last, tied for last, or fifth, depending on how you look at it. 4 teams tied for fifth at 4 points. You got Winnipeg, St. Louis, Utah, and Minnesota. Winnipeg obviously breaking the tie because they have one less loss than the other ones. They are 2-1. The other 3 teams are 2-2. So Winnipeg, I guess, solidly in 5th spot. But anyway, yeah, last year Winnipeg did win the Central Division. They were top in the West and the President's Cup winner. In the playoffs last year, they did beat St. Louis 4-3 in the first round, only winning their home games. The 7th game of that series was a 2 overtime thriller. And then in the second round, they lost to Dallas 2-4. They won 2 out of the 3 home games in Winnipeg. So they seem to have a problem in the playoffs playing on the road somehow last year. That wasn't the issue during the regular season. They had a fantastic record. President's Cup winner. Hello. So, yeah, surprising to see that they struggled on the road in the playoffs, but they did. So they didn't make it past Dallas in the second round. As far as their draft goes, they had 5 draft picks. They made 5 picks, I guess is what they actually did. They had 1 pick in the now here's where the production team got messed up. No, I think this is right. 1st, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th. They did not have 2 in the 5th. I think that is a cut and paste error. That nasty little production team of mine, not staying awake for that. Yeah, so they took 5 picks. Notable personnel changes. Players that they are missing. Mason Appleton, forward Mason Appleton, got signed by Detroit. Nikolai Ehlers, signed by Carolina. And then Brandon Tanev, signed by Utah. Tanev started last season in Seattle, then got picked up near the end by Winnipeg, and now he's been signed by Utah. So he's kind of making the rounds of the I guess the Northwest, the greater Northwest, including the Canada regions. I guess there's still Calgary, Vancouver, and Colorado. Yeah, so but he's young. He's got time. There's it's easy to play for 3 teams in a season. What was it? Not Evangelista. It was there was a player with the Preds last year who wound up playing for 3, maybe 4 teams last year. You take him. No, you take him. I got it. It's yours. Added to the team, forward Cole Koepka, signed from Boston, and Gustav Nyquist. Oh, Gustav Nyquist. Nyquist might have been the one. He was signed from Minnesota. Nyquist might have been the started in Nashville, and they traded him somewhere, and he got traded somewhere else and traded somewhere else. First player to play for 3 teams last year. Maybe it was Nyquist, maybe it was somebody else. I don't know why I brought it up when I can't give you the information, but and then the another player, I wasn't going to mention him because he was an AHL acquisition, defenseman Cale Clogg, Clague, from Buffalo. The reason why I'm mentioning him now is because he has been recalled. Number 56 defenseman Cale Clogg. Is that Clague? I don't know. Called up from the AHL Manitoba Moose. As far as I know, nobody's made a poll to see if the Moose in Manitoba are upset that the AHL team is calling themselves that, but I'm sure it's coming. Now, I'm thinking the reason why he has been recalled is Winnipeg has 5 players who are injured. 2 of them are defensemen. And I think it's primarily Dylan Samberg, who is week to week, not expected till the end of November. Number 54 defenseman Dylan Samberg. I think that's probably why Cale, we'll just call him Cale, got called up. The other defenseman, number 24, Hayden Fleury, day-to-day expected back today. So we'll see how that works. Another player expected back today, number 45, forward Cole Koepka. Cole Koepka, unrestricted free agent signed from Boston, has been day-to-day. And then we've got number 91 Cole, I guess to play forward for who is this team? Winnipeg. You got to be named Cole. You had a lot of coleslaw. But Cole Perfetti, day-to-day, expected back on the 24th, so probably not playing this weekend. Fleury and Koepka due back today, so they could be off the list by Saturday. And then number 17, center Adam Lowry, day-to-day expected back on the 28th. So as far as those players, Fleury and Koepka may be back for tonight's game. They play tonight, and they may be back for tonight. They may be back for Saturday. So I guess we'll see. For the Nashville Predators, we lost our second place standing. Oh man, Dallas is now in second with 6 points. They are 3-0. Colorado is top of the Central with 7, 3-0-1. So both those teams starting off pretty good this season. Nashville 2-1-1. Not shabby, 5 points. Not such a stellar game in Toronto the other night. But so we are tied with the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are 2-2-1, so we have played one less game, one less loss, so we are listed above them. Yep. And these 2 games tonight and Saturday are the final 2 games of a 4-game road trip across Canada. The Preds are 1-1 in this road trip. And I don't know why I've got that thing noted. As far as personnel changes, Nicholas Hague is now day-to-day, no longer week-to-week. He's now day-to-day. Still not expected back until the 23rd. So the 23rd would be when? The 23rd would be the second home game. So after these 2 games, Nashville has a 5-game homestand. So Thursday at Montreal, Saturday at Winnipeg, and then we come home to play the Ducks on Tuesday, and then the Vancouver diving team on Thursday, the 23rd. So Hague may be back in time to watch the diving team, otherwise known as the Canucks. And then on Saturday, Sunday, we have a back-to-back, L.A. and Dallas. So Dallas is on a hot streak right now. And we'll see how that works out when we come into town to play a back-to-back, or when Nashville plays a back-to-back. The other teams probably not, because, it's a schedule. But Tuesday, Saturday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, looks like the Kings, wrong, Saturday, Sunday. There we go. It looks like the Kings are going to be playing a back-to-back that next weekend too. They play at Nashville and then they go to Chicago. So they'll have a back-to-back, playing back-to-back same time in the same sort of order. And, hey, what do you know? Dallas is too. So I guess next weekend is going to be a busy weekend in the NHL. Dallas will be home versus Carolina on Saturday, and then travel to Nashville for Sunday's game. Wow. Yeah, so all those teams doing back-to-back. And then Dallas and L.A. play on Thursday at Dallas. Wow, so Dallas, Nashville, and L.A. Going to be doing a little bit of a round robin here coming up at the end of next week. But that will be the Preds homestand. They did have 2 games to start the season off at home, and now they'll have 5. So at the end of that, which is, so at the end of that 5-game homestand, we'll have 9, we'll have 11 games, we'll have 7 home games, 4 road games. Yeah, start being able to put together some trends and hopefully, have some stats to talk about, which would be, hey, nice segue. Thank you. I thought it was pretty good myself. So stats. Well, just taking a quick look here. I haven't really looked through my spreadsheet. The only thing I know so far is that to date, now, huge body evidence for whichever team gets the first goal is winning the game. That is that's eerie. Just 4 games, but still, it's 4 games, and and the winning team has gotten the first goal in all 4 of them. So far, 75% of the time, the winning goal is being scored in the third period. That doesn't seem right, but is that right? I guess that's right. I guess that is right. Yeah. 25% overtime. So, of course, there you go. The 1 overtime win, or overtime loss, I guess, for the Preds. When the Preds win twice, they've scored the winning goal in the third period to 100% of the time. And the opposition is split between the third and overtime. Like I said, these are too early in the season for any of this to really look that interesting. That Toronto game, there's so much scoring that it is kind of interesting that I think that's going to be, when I start taking a look at scoring in the second, third periods in relation to the first period. I think some of this is going to look kind of interesting. Not remarkable. Again, only played 4 games. So what can you say? If somebody's going to score 7 goals on you, I guess you're going to lose. That might be another truism. Taking a quick look. First period wins, correlating wins in the period to wins. But again, none of that is terribly interesting yet. So, yeah. But, okay. Anyway, so that's the sort of thing that I'm really looking forward to getting into and diving into is, how winning periods is going to correlate to winning the goal games. And then, there it is. The periods won. Yeah. And then, number of periods won or number of periods lost and number of goals scored and that kind of stuff. So looking forward to actually having a body of work to evaluate, which we don't have yet. So enough of that. Let's talk about matchups. And so, again, this is data from last year, but one of the things that we knew from that was true last year was that Winnipeg was 4th in the league in scoring and last in being scored against. They had 190 goals scored against them last year, scoring 275. So oddly enough, the Preds had 274 scored against them. So it's almost like Winnipeg scored every goal but one against Nashville. Nashville scored 212, so a little bit better than how many were scored against Winnipeg. So yeah, they last year they were they're scoring a lot and not being scored on. As far as Montreal goes, Montreal was 17th in the league in scoring and 10th in being scored against. The Preds were 31st in the league in scoring and 19th in being scored against. 6th being scored against, 19th in the first period. So they were pretty decent in the first period, able to keep the scoring down, but then they were third in the league in being scored on in the second and ninth in the third. So it kind of got a little wacky. The other thing kind of interesting about Montreal being scored on, they had 261 goals scored against them last year. It's about as even as it could get. Because total 261, but I don't talk about overtime goals, so that's why the numbers I give you don't necessarily add up. But they had 84 goals scored against them in the first and second period, 84 in the first and second, and 86 in the third. So very consistent in giving up goals. The Preds gave up 69 in the first, 102 in the second, and 95 in the third. And another team very consistent first, second for Winnipeg, 55 in the first and 56 in the second and 76 in the third. As I've mentioned before, last year, 36% of the goals were scored in the third period, 29% in the first, 33% in the third. In the second, 15% increase in goal scoring between the first and the second, and then 7% from the second and the third. So league-wide, more goals scored in the third period. However, I guess that, for the Preds, that wasn't the case, but both for Winnipeg and Montreal being scored against, Montreal did tick up 2 goals, so that's a huge increase. Winnipeg did give up 20 additional goals between the second and third. So that is a notable increase for them, about a third, a little more than a third, right? So 20 goals to 56, so a little bit more than a third. As far as how they do in special teams, the Preds 7th in the league in penalty kill, followed by Montreal in 9th, and then Winnipeg in 13th. So all of these teams pretty good. Montreal was first in the league in penalty kill opportunities with 257. So they were shorthanded more than anybody else. The Preds were 7th with 243. They gave up 49, so they gave up 4 more goals than the Preds on 14 more opportunities. The Winnipeg was 27th in the league in penalty kill opportunities, so they didn't give up nearly as many, only 199 opportunities shorthanded, and they gave up 41 goals, which is just a little over 79%. Winnipeg did score 4 shorthanded goals, which is 27th in the league to Montreal's 9. So so that was pretty good for them. The power play, Winnipeg. Oh, this is kind of interesting, right? Because Milwaukee had the most opportunities. Montreal had the most opportunities, most penalty kill opportunities. Winnipeg had the best power play. Almost 29%, 63 goals on 218 opportunities. And they were only 21st in power play opportunities. So again, this is kind of like, I forget which team it was the other day, but it was Toronto. Yeah, Ottawa and Toronto, those 2 games, Ottawa was a team that seemed to have a lot of penalties last year because they were very high in both penalty kill opportunities and power play opportunities, and then Toronto kind of the opposite. And I think this is going to be similar. Montreal 7th in power play opportunities, 1st in penalty kill opportunities last year, so there were a lot of penalties in games with Montreal, and with Winnipeg, not so much. So again, kind of like tonight's game should be kind of like Ottawa, and then Saturday kind of like Toronto if those trends continue, which they did for those two teams. The announcers were befuddled with how many penalties were getting called in the Ottawa game, and yeah. So as far as giving up shorthanded goals, all of these teams are in the bottom half of the league as far as giving them up. Montreal gave up 6, Winnipeg 4, and Nashville 5. So none of them giving up that many opportunities. Again, talking about the power play for Winnipeg, and Nashville's power play was decent, but 18th in the league at the end of the year. Winnipeg scored 13 more goals on 10 less opportunities. So there you go. Probably didn't look to see what the rates were this year, but again, nobody's played that many games to really kind of take that information and do anything with. But so let's talk about the goaltenders. Montreal goaltenders are Sam Montembeault, Bolt, Beault. I don't know how he pronounces that. 2 consonants at the end of a French word. One of the rough rules in pronouncing French words is you don't pronounce a consonant unless it's followed by a vowel here at the end. So like bowl, I mean, the LT might be kind of drifting off there at the end. But anyway, so he was 31, 24, and 7 last year. This year so far he's 2-1, 2-1-0. And Jakob, I don't know how he pronounces it, Dobes or Dobbies, I don't know. Not trying to make fun of anybody's pronunciation, you just don't know until you hear it. And actually, the announcers don't always, in my opinion, get it right. They've got a better chance because they actually talk to people who know how to pronounce the names. But I usually prefer to hear the person whose name it is say their name to make sure I know how to say it. But we'll go with Jakob Dobes. He's 1-0-0. Last year he was 7-4-3. Last year, Montembeault played in the first game against Nashville. It was the second game of a 2-game winning streak for Montreal. That was a 3-0 win for Montreal in Montreal. Dobes, if I got to pick one and stick with it, Dobes played in the second game, which was another win for Montreal, a 2-1 win in Nashville. It was the 5th game of a 6-game winning streak. And after that winning streak, they lost 3 and then won their last game of the year. As far as who's going to be playing against Nashville, Dobbs has had a start already, so I'm expecting Montembeault in goal tonight. Saturday for Winnipeg, we've got Vezina Trophy, multiple Vezina Trophy winner, Connor Hellebuyck, the last 2 years. He's 1-1 so far this year. He was 47-12-3. Last year, he's backed up by Eric Comrie, who's 1-0 this year, 9-10-1 last year. So last year, Winnipeg and Nashville played each other 4 times. The middle 2 games were both in Winnipeg. Comrie played the first and last game, so he played the 2 games in Nashville, and Hellebuyck played the 2 in Winnipeg. Comrie went 0-2, and Hellebuyck went 2-0. As far as what Winnipeg was going through at the time, they played the first game. They did win games on either side of losing to Nashville, and then they lost 4 straight after that win. After the fourth game, the loss to Nashville was the beginning of a 3-game losing streak. As far as the 2 games in Winnipeg, the 2 games they played, there were 3 games between them, so there was part of a 5-game stretch where they played 2 games. The second game for Winnipeg was the last game of a 4-game winning streak, which was a 3-0 win in Winnipeg over Nashville. And then the third game, there were 3 games between the two, and Winnipeg lost all 3 of those. And then the game after, they beat Nashville. So they were not necessarily at the top of their game when they met Nashville. I guess they were on a 4-game winning streak, and then they seemed to be losing a bunch afterwards. So it was a very up and down part of their season. Again, Comrie has already played this season. He played on Monday, so Hellebuck should be in goal for Winnipeg. For your Nashville Predators, UC Saros is 2-0-1. Justice Anunen is 0-1. He got the loss in Toronto the other night. And last year against Montreal, Anunen was in goal in the first game in Montreal. That game was the 6th game of an 8th-game losing streak. And then Saros was in goal for the second game, the one in Nashville. And it was the last game in a 6-game losing streak. So, but that's not surprising. Anyway, moving on, for against Winnipeg, Saros was in goal for all 4 of those, so he was 2-2. The first game, which was a win in Nashville, came just before an 8-game losing streak, which was one of the games which Montreal played us. The second game was the second of a 3-game losing streak. The third game, the Preds had won the 2 previous games. Then they lost this game and the next, and then won 5 in a row. And then as far as the fourth game, the win in Nashville, they did lose the 2 previous games and then lost the next 2 games. So kind of odd to lose the games on either side and then beat one of the best teams in the league. Anunen played Tuesday, and so since it's not a back-to-back situation, I'm expecting Saros in goal. In both games, yeah. As far as people to watch, for both of these teams, I took a quick look at what they're doing this season, and what did I say? Different year, same players. Last year, first in goals, second in points, first in shots is number 13, right wing Cole Caulfield. Top point getter, number 14, center Nick Suzuki. He's also was first on the team in plus minus at 19. And then 5th in time on ice. So Suzuki is the forward who gets most of the playing time. Second in shots. Interesting, almost a 70-shot differential between first and second last year between Caulfield and Suzuki. And then first in assists is number 48 defenseman Lane Hudson. And then number 8 defenseman Mike Matheson, first in time on ice, 25.04. So you'll see him on ice a lot. But again, 48 was the assist leader. Suzuki was second with 1 less. So I think 13 and 14, definitely the players to watch, a little bit easier. They probably play on the same line. And then as far as Winnipeg goes, you get number 81, left wing Kyle Connor, who first in everything. Goals, assists, points, shots. He had 97 points last year. He had 41 goals, which is almost as many. Connor had almost as many goals as the leader in assists for Nashville. Forsberg had 45, led the team with 45 assists last year. Kyle Connor had 41. Mark Scheifele, second on the team in goals with 39, and second in assists and second in points. So definitely 81 and 55 you need to pay attention to. Scheifele is the forward that's going to be on the ice the most, 5th on the team with 26. Defenseman Josh Morrissey, third on the team in assists last year, first in ice time, 24-23. Also, the things to notice about Scheifele is that he was first on the team. There were two players that were actually ahead of him in shooting percentage, but they played 3 games and 4 games respectively, and so I don't really count them. So for players that actually play a high number of games last year, Scheifele's shooting percentage was 21.5%. So, more than a fifth of the time that he shot, he scored. He had 181 shots. So he takes a lot of shots, and his shooting percentage is really, really good. As far as skaters with 20-plus games, Scheifele was 9th in the league in shooting percentage. To cap it off, they have another player with a really high percentage. Velarde was 15th in the team in shooting percentage with 15th in the league in shooting percentage, the same criteria with skaters with 20-plus games. His shooting percentage just under 21% on 130 shots. He had 27 goals on 130 shots. So I would say, those two guys are definitely need to be watched when they're starting to shoot. He didn't have a lot of other stats that were interesting, but that one's pretty dangerous. That's kind of interesting and dangerous that they've got two players with such a high shooting percentage on their team that take a decent number of shots. So that would be the players to watch there. And for the Preds, again, anybody with a 9 in their number or divisible by 9, 81, 9 times 9. I mean, I guess that's even specialer, right? Specialer. 9 times 9, 81. So he's got the double 9 in his number. So Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault, Riley, Yossi. Those are your players to watch, and same, what did I say? Different years, same players. So it's the same thing for the Preds. Haig, I guess, has got a couple of goals. As time goes on, maybe we'll see something a little bit different at the top of the scoring and assist chart. But for now, it's the same sort of players as last year. As far as momentum goes, Montreal is on a 3-game winning streak. Winnipeg is on a 2-game winning streak. Winnipeg does play Philadelphia tonight. And Nashville scored 4 goals in their last 2 games. Now that was 1-1. 4 goals is still pretty good. Do I have that? I don't have that spreadsheet up, but number of goals. Average number of goals scored in the win. I need to look that up. But anyway, so the Preds, all 3 of these teams playing pretty well. They did have that game in Nashville the other night or not in Nashville, but Nashville played the other night, the Toronto game, 7-4. I guess the first 2 games, the Preds had trouble getting past the 2 goal scoring situation. And then against Ottawa, they scored 4. 2 of those were empty net. No. Toronto got 2 empty net goals. Right. But I think Marchessault got 2 goals in the game against Ottawa. So they've scored 4 goals in the last 2 games. And I think all 3 of these teams are playing well right now. So this should be a fun contest. Again, I think we'll see probably a lot of penalties tonight, and then not so much on Saturday. Both of these games are at 6 o'clock Central Time, and Montreal. I just didn't look up the time zone, but so 6 o'clock tonight Central Time, and 6 o'clock on Saturday. So the last 2 games of the road trip, Canada, and Canada. Hopefully, we leave with a winning record, 1-1 right now against Canada. Hopefully that's 3-1, but we'll see. You got to play the games, and the first one is tonight with Montreal. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor, and you've been listening to Predators Proclivity.